Welcome, everybody, to episode 1 of the Golden Squeeze podcast. We are your hosts, Josh Wilson and Wade Bryant, and we have been wanting to do this podcast for quite some time now. Wade and I grew up together, went to middle school together. He lived across the street from me, and one thing that him and I shared was a love for wrestling. We were huge wrestling fans. We used to wrestle outside with another one of our buddies pretty much all day long. We'd go out there and practice our Stone Cold Stunners and our Tombstone Pile Drivers on each other. And we have loved wrestling ever since. Now, there was a time in my life when I stopped watching wrestling, when I went off to college. I stopped watching. I didn't really get back into it until the WWE Network came back in 2014. But I have watched it nonstop ever since. I now have 3 kids. I have made them love wrestling just as much as I used to. And one of the things that them and I share is just an absolute love for wrestling. Wade, why don't you tell me a little about yourself?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, same thing. Loved it a lot as a kid. When I lived in San Antonio, went to a bunch of live events there. And then same when me and Josh were living together. I know we went to at least one and maybe 2. You could actually see me in the crowd at the Tuesday in Texas pay-per-view if on the WWE Network. Yeah, I got out of it around college too for a little bit. And then in 2011, I happened upon a episode of Raw, flipping through channels, and saw Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H in the ring doing a promo for their for Triple H and Taker's WrestleMania 27 matchup, and I slowly got back into it and started watching more and more and getting up to speed with all the storylines, and I've been hooked ever since.
Yeah. I mean, the WWE has put out a pretty good product the past couple years. I don't want to blame he who shall not be named on this podcast, but Triple H has done a very good job of turning creative over and making sure that a lot of the wrestlers that should be highlighted are highlighted. He did a good job of hiring back people who he had originally fired. I think that he's done a great job with the brand and making Raw and SmackDown watchable again. I know that when we were younger, Raw was only 2 hours. It was much easier to consume. A 3-hour Raw can be difficult to jam as much in and have enough content to make it interesting for 3 hours. But I think he's done a pretty good job with what he has and working with the talent that he has. So I've been very impressed with him. But a lot of you are probably asking how we got our name, the Golden Squeeze Podcast. I know that you had thrown around a name for a while because we've been talking about this podcast for years. I think it was the gray area.
And I was very, very disappointed when you said that it was already taken.
Yeah, but we fell on a good one though.
Oh yeah, and I was sent a TikTok video, older pre-Hulkamania version of Hulk Hogan. I can't even remember what his name was. I'll have to go back and look. But his finishing maneuver was the Golden Squeeze. And it's, if anybody gets a chance to take a look at it, it's just funny. We both found it hilarious. We'd never seen it before. I wasn't even aware that was one of Hulk Hogan's previous names. And we needed something else because gray area was taken. And so, and here we are.
Well, Hogan was popular, but could you imagine how popular he would have been if he changed his move to the Golden Squeeze for his whole career?
Yes. If he gets that one last match he so desperately wants, I'm hoping that's how he ends his career, by finishing off his opponent with the Golden Squeeze.
Well, it's 10 times more devastating than a leg drop. So am I wrong? Exactly.
Fair point.
Exactly. Well, let's just get right into it. Let's talk about the Elimination Chamber. I thought it was a very good pay-per-view. One of the things that, I don't know if you noticed this, but just the way the arena was set up, there was a lot of white space. There was a lot of places where there were not seats. Did you notice that? If you didn't notice it, go back and watch it.
Yes.
Look at the layout.
Yes. I saw it. Yeah. I saw it, and it was definitely referenced several times in those recurring memes and whatnot, talking about the empty space in arenas and I noticed that.
Do you think it was because they couldn't sell out, or do you think that that's just the way the arena's set up?
I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, man, it's some of those with the layout of it and the way they have the overhangs over the ring and chamber as well in this case for a couple of the matches. I just don't know if some of that is because of viewing restrictions that would be there in certain areas, or if they were just trying to maximize the viewing. But hell, man, 50 was it 53 some odd thousand? And crowd was loving it. So
Well, that's what Triple H told us it was. It might have been like 12 people for all we know.
Well,
the WWE is notorious for making up the amount of people in the stadium.
But that I don't know. I'm thinking the numbers probably weren't that
far off
from what they said. And it's not like they did the attendance record for a non-rugby event or any of that crap. He just said, hey, the attendance for tonight is, he wasn't trying to oversell it, like what the, but yeah, I definitely noticed that. And I have no idea why it was like that, but I'm thinking maybe some type of viewing restrictions would have been in place. And we were talking earlier, I know you haven't had a chance to watch the pre-show match, the Kabuki Warriors versus Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae. Go back and watch it. It's definitely worth it. The crowd loved when Indy Hartwell was there and came out. They look great. Kabuki Warriors look great. Kabuki Warriors retained. I think the right call, but I would not blame the company if that ended up being a rematch at WrestleMania. I have no clue what their plans are at this point. There's probably no in the coming weeks on SmackDown, but yeah, I definitely think that there's definitely some more to do there. And I think if the result was different, the title changed hands, it would be justified based on the performance of all involved in the chamber match.
Well, they're all such pros. Like I told you earlier, I think it's criminal that Asuka should ever be in a pre-show. And you were talking earlier about just the fact that you have a title match on a pre-show. And I know what Vince's viewpoint was and is on tag team wrestling, let alone women's tag team wrestling. But I also know that Triple H is a fan of tag team wrestling. Mm-hmm. So for him to put him on the pre-show, I'm happy they got a match. Obviously, I'm happy they got a match on the pay-per-view. But I just don't think that it needed to be on the pre-show. They had a lot of filler, I think, in the actual pay-per-view where they could have snuck in that match and been able to get everything else in within their time constraints. And I still am mad that they started the pay-per-view at 5 o'clock because, like we talked about earlier, that thing ended at about 10 Perth time, Aussie Eastern time, or whatever it is, AS. And it could have easily have started at 6 o'clock Eastern, and I think accomplished the same thing. Ended at 11 in Australia, which is about the end time of a normal pay-per-view. It ends 11 Eastern here in America. So I don't think that they would have lost anything by starting the pay-per-view just a little bit earlier to accommodate some of the American dads who don't want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I set my alarm at exactly 5 o'clock, and I got down there, and I think it started about 5 minutes late, so it worked out perfect because by the time I got my TV on, it was the main show was starting. But I just totally forgot about the pre-show, which is why I did not watch it. They hadn't been putting matches on the pre-show. So I didn't think they'd have a match on the pre-show. I could have woken up at 4:30. I understand that, but I'm not going to wake up at 4:30 to listen to Booker T. I don't need to do that. I'll just wait until 5. I'll wait half an hour till the matches start. But, you live and you learn. I'll go back and watch it per your recommendation. How many squeezes would you give that out of 10?
Oh, no, we're really doing this. I don't know. We'll get back to that later. I haven't taken that deep of a dive into it. Oh my gosh!
Did you hear what Michael Cole said about pirates stealing the chamber?
I did. I did. Well, no, wait. Okay, maybe I misunderstood.
These pirates they were concerned about pirates stealing the chamber, so they had.
That's why they had. Apparently, it took a very long time to get the chamber itself there because of the concerns of the cargo ship being pirated. Yes.
What are pirates going to do with an elimination chamber?
I have no idea, dude. But
is
I did hear that.
Is that a rational fear? Because it seemed pretty irrational when I read it.
Yeah,
That pirates might steal the chamber.
Yeah, that was very interesting to
Wow.
say the least. What was the first match? The women's
Elimination
match.
Chamber. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
They started off with Becky and Naomi. Before we get into that, what did you think of Naomi's theme music?
I know you weren't a fan of it.
I wasn't a fan. First of all, I'll tell you right now, my wife's favorite WWE wrestler is Naomi. It's her favorite wrestler. She knows like 4 wrestlers, and one of them is Naomi, because we used to watch whatever that reality show was. I can't even think of it. Total Divas. We used to watch Total Divas, and she was one of the featured wrestlers on Total Divas. And it was the only way I could get my wife to watch wrestling was it had to have some sort of reality theme to go along with it, because she loves reality trash television. So, and I love wrestling. So we combined our 2 loves, and Total Divas was perfect for us. She's loved Naomi ever since then. And that show came on probably like 2015, 2016. I don't even know when it came on, but it was a little bit of time ago, its first season. And that theme music that she would have, and she'd come out sliding her knees and everything would be glowing. And I thought it was she had a great entrance, I thought. And this one, to me, it just seemed a little heely. I thought she was going to have a heel turn based off of the music. She didn't. I think it might be coming.
I was going to say, maybe in light of the fact she was eliminated first, and that could lead to one of those like mounting frustration things, even though she hasn't been back with the company that long, but they could tie that in somehow.
Well, that's how she left the company for mounting frustration. So I think it would be a perfect segue into her becoming a heel. Yeah, maybe not, but I think that she's very talented. She's very athletic. She can do a lot of different things. I don't think that she's on the level of some of their other people, like a Bailey or a Bianca Belair, but she's a good worker, and I think they can get something more out of her. I'm a proponent of her going in the bloodline. I think they need a woman. Well, let me take that back. They don't need a woman, but I think that they could potentially benefit from having a woman in the bloodline if they're going to continue that storyline, because it seems like it might go on for another 15 years. So if they're going to do that, they need to add a woman to it.
I think there's definitely going to be big plans for her.
Yeah.
I personally think she is in that top tier. And yeah, I maybe not immediately for, like, obviously not going to be a title match at WrestleMania, but I don't think she would have come back unless there was some type of plan that was presented to her that was obviously a lot more, stable than what ended up happening, the directionless bouncing back and forth with stuff. I think I really don't think she would have come back unless they've pitched her something that she's confident that they're going to do right by the wrongs that were done previously.
Yeah, you're probably right.
But yeah, I think, because I know a lot of people were frustrated that she was eliminated first, but I think there's a plan in place for that, in my opinion. I think so. And oh man, for how talented I think Raquel is, I just don't. I don't think in the current character they have that they are getting the reactions that they've hoped for, and I think something's got to change there quickly.
Yeah, she is
quickly.
She's super talented.
Yes,
man, their roster, their whole roster, their women's roster. Those girls are, first of all, they're all strong. They are not the women's wrestlers that you and I grew up on. Not to say that they're not attractive women, but the women that we grew up on, like the Stacy Keeblers and the Trish Stratuses, and I mean, China obviously was in a different role, but I just think that these women are they've come so far with the women's division from 10, 15, 20, 30 years ago that it's amazing. But I have a lot of issues with Raquel. I think she has a lot of talent. but
Yes.
she's just so raw, in my opinion. I mean, she's a physical specimen. Her facial expressions when she comes out to the ring, she's got a huge smile on her
Oh,
face, and
what?
that bothers me. It just bothers. I know she's a baby face, but you can be a baby face and not. She doesn't look intimidating when she has that giant smile on her face, and she doesn't necessarily need to look intimidating, but she's a big girl. And even like when Braun Strowman is a baby face, he's not going to come to the ring with a big smile on his face. He's huge. People are going to cheer him because he's huge, and they can do the same thing for her. She looks childish to me when she comes out that way, and it seems always unserious to me. I don't buy her being that happy. I just don't.
And man, I've been trying to think about how to put it because I like her.
I like her too.
And you know, they can't remember because I obviously China was in that type of enforcer role.
Yeah.
And then eventually went on like singles competition and all that. I can't remember exactly how it segued from the enforcer role into that. I'd have to go back and watch. I can't remember. But if you look for how there's a tried and true formula that has worked for some of the men that I recall in the past and in even more recent history with you've got your Diesel with Shawn Michaels, and then the Muscle getting fed up with the smaller person taking advantage of him and just overstepping his boundaries, and then him getting retribution, and the crowd eats that up. It's an easy story to tell, easy to go along with, because eventually the crowd, because they always give the breadcrumbs, like, okay, there's the dissension, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And hey, I've got no problem discussing other companies in this show. I know this is going to be a WWE one, but it's nothing against AEW. I just don't have time to devote to more shows than SmackDown, Raw, and the PLEs. I have a hard enough time trying to keep up with NXT, but I'm not going to sit here and I'll make references to them all day if I can. They've got a lot of talent over there. But where I was going with this is the angle they did, if you're familiar with what they did with Wardlow and MJF,
yeah.
That was a masterclass, in my opinion. It was perfect, and the crowd ate it up, and that crowd lost it. And they were so happy when he just demolished MJF and got that retribution. It's a tried and true formula. And I think, now I don't know in this situation, because of how she was presented on the front end, how they could get to something like that. But I mean, hey, those guys, they've got a talented group of folks there that I'm sure can come up with something. But I just think with somebody that's got that kind of raw talent, size, and strength, that they could have done that tried and true formula, and she would already be having the support that I think they were assuming she would already have by now.
They could have put her with Bayley. I think Bayley would have been a perfect person. All the other stuff they've done with Bayley, forget that. They could have had Raquel be her enforcer, and then done that exact tried and true method. Because you're exactly right with Wardlow and MJF. I don't watch a lot of AEW, but I watched that program. I watched when he got his retribution. It's one of the very few AEW pay-per-views that I actually have watched, because it's enthralling. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yes, exactly. I wanted to see him, the salt of the earth, get his ass
whipped. I mean, it is literally what wrestling is based on: watching a heel get his ass kicked. And when you do it right, there's nothing better in professional wrestling.
Case in point.
Yeah.
That's why everybody, or a big contingent, was so upset that Cody Rhodes lost last year, because everyone assumed, hey, the bad guy's finally going to get what he's got coming, even though he's let's just face it, he's like a beloved bad guy at this point. He's a big attraction. People love him, throwing the fingers up in the air every time he comes in. But still, people were expecting the good guy to overthrow the evil emperor.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, I think limitless character potential there with her, and I hope they figure it out, because she's a great talent in my opinion, and I think she could get that natural support if they put the proper story around her.
Yeah.
And talking about Bayley, and I was going to say maybe even present that with Tiffany Stratton, but I think Tiffany Stratton is so good at this point, and now she's starting to get a lot of babyface type crowd support already, that I don't even know at this point if that would work. If they would be, I don't think the crowd would be excited if she got the crap kicked out of her based on the reaction she's getting already.
I think you have to do it with a vet. If you're going to have Raquel be a bodyguard or a muscle for somebody, I think it needs to be with a veteran. I don't think that you can have an inexperienced person like Tiffany Stratton be that person. Because first of all, and like you said, she's so beloved now, the crowd ate her up, and she's a natural, and
well deserved.
She has the looks, she has the athleticism. She has it, and I think that if they use her properly, which up to this point I think that they've done a pretty good job. I mean, they did a very good job of showcasing her in the chamber and showcasing what she's capable of doing. So they can continue to do that, which I know in the past they've had a lot of difficulty doing, but in Triple H we trust. So I think that the sky is the limit for her, because out of all the talent that was in that chamber, she stood out. And I mean, when you have Becky and Naomi and Liv and Raquel, and when you have all that talent there, and people are talking about Tiffany Stratton at the end of it, and she didn't win. She was the second person eliminated. It went Naomi and then Tiffany, so she was only in there for maybe 10 minutes of a 40-minute match. And I think that people are still talking about her, which is great.
Oh, yeah.
And at some point in time, they're going to be throwing Jade Cargill in the mix, who from a wrestling
I'll get to that in a second. I've got an idea of what I think they're about to do with that. But back to Stratton real quick. I'm confident in predicting with her character, she's going to win this Money in the Bank.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I'm confident in after Elimination Chamber saying that she's just got that character, that do whatever it takes, conniving heel, but just so arrogant about it. And just, I'd be shocked if she doesn't get it.
Yeah.
If she's not toting around that briefcase, she's the perfect character to do it.
I don't disagree. I will say, I don't know when they're going to introduce Jade Cargill. And I know you want to put it off, but I could also see a world where she wins Miss Money in the Bank. I think they want to skyrocket her.
But they're already presenting her differently. The way they're presenting her, I don't think she needs that. Or I don't know. Okay, maybe not. Maybe not need. I don't necessarily think getting to that goal that way suits the way they've presented her. So
I think she's going to circle back to this when we get closer to Money in the Bank. Okay, and we'll make our predictions.
Oh, I'm sticking. Hey, no, I'm saying no. You could run this back. Well, you can run this back to our one viewer that's going to see this. But
my wife and your wife.
Okay,
they'll know. They'll know.
Yeah, and but for right now, I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, just the whispers. I think as early as this Friday, they're going to start the Bianca Jade WrestleMania program, and I'm fully confident in that.
Yeah. Now, one thing I noticed, pay-per-view related, not necessarily women's match related, but it did happen in the women's match, and I don't know if they did this last year or the year before. I just don't remember, and you tell me if you remember. But they made a point of giving out Elimination Chamber statistics like they do for the Rumble. I don't know if you noticed that, but they were talking about 5 people have won from the 4th spot, and I'm thinking, did you notice that they did it on the men's match and the women's match, and I don't remember them doing that before.
No, I don't remember that either, but I do remember thinking, like, oh, from position 1 and such from position 2, they start at the same time. I was like, what is it? It's the same thing. What?
In the fact, it's not like the Rumble where there's 30 spots, so it's like, all right, there's really only 4 spots. We can say there's 6, but there's really only 4. So the only 4 that matter, the 4 who actually come into the ring after some time has passed. So these are insignificant numbers, and I just found it funny that there's only, of course, there's going to be a bunch from each position. There aren't that many options. I noticed that. I noticed that. I will say this: I do love those numbers when they talk about the Rumble, when they give all the stats. I do love those, but I found it's absolutely asinine for the Chamber, just especially since it's also so new. Like they weren't doing that like the 3rd Royal Rumble or the 4th Royal Rumble, giving out those stats. Like it took them years to accumulate numbers to get to that point. Maybe they were.
I wouldn't say it's new. I mean, the first one had Shawn Michaels winning the title. Did it not? It's Survivor Series, and
I guess you're right. Yeah. That was a good match, but
you get 4 Pinocchios for that announced.
They're not all winners here in the Golden Squeeze podcast, but going back when Liv eliminated Stratton, I don't know if you heard the crowd, but they started giving BS chants.
Yes.
They weren't saying BS, but they were giving BS chants. They were not pleased.
No.
And they let it be known. But
and in typical great heel fashion, did you hear about what Stratton? Did you hear what Stratton said afterwards?
No.
She said, if the fans would have cheered for her more, she may have done better. So she probably blamed the fans, which was genius because they were just cheering the hell out of her.
And it's little things like that separate her from a lot of the newer wrestlers, male or female.
So let's see. We talked about Stratton.
They had Bianca Belair. They had her pin Raquel, which is fine. She's the only person in that ring.
She hit her with the KOD, right? Finally, because it took a couple tries, and then they setting up for the inevitable success of it. Yeah, I didn't have any issues with that.
And I think believably should pin Raquel. I think you should protect Raquel a little bit because she's just so big. I mean, she's so strong.
And I assumed based on it was at least 1 failed attempt, if not 2, from Bianca. And so I kind of, if history's any indicator, they're eventually going to hit it.
Yeah.
And but other than that, I agree. But if Becky would have countered like a superplex attempt with like a middle or top rope manhandle slam, that would be acceptable for me.
Yeah, I agree.
That would have been. But no, the way they were setting that up, I had a feeling Bianca was probably gonna do it, and if she didn't get the pin herself, somebody sneaked their way in to get the pin off of it. And then so she did that, and then she got rolled up immediately by Liv, correct?
Yeah. So Liv gave Bianca the roll up, and then Becky came in and gave a manhandle slam.
Yeah.
To Liv to get the W.
Yeah, because it was like quick. It was
boom, boom.
Quick. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And Becky got the win, which I know a lot of people online are not fans of. I really didn't think that anybody else was going to get the win once Becky got into the match. I always thought that Becky was going to be the winner of that match. I wasn't surprised by that at all.
That crowd was going nuts for her, man. Like entry during the match. Like
started when she was going up against Naomi. I made a note of it that they were screaming. They were just "Let's go Becky" chants. And you could hear it loud. They were loud and passionate in the first match, just giving "Let's go Becky" chants. So it was not surprising to me at all. I mean, it's been years since the man became the man, but fans haven't, their love for her hasn't waned. So I wasn't surprised by that at all.
There were highs and lows. I think the blunder of her coming in and taking the belt off of Bianca when that happened, that was inexcusable.
I think people realized that wasn't Becky's fault in the moment they were mad, but
then hey, it led to a great heel run by her.
Yeah.
I think it was a great heel run personally. Yeah. But dude, the only thing with that, real quick, dude, I think Liv Morgan was phenomenal during that match. Sometimes I forget how good she is.
Yeah.
And she just looked fantastic. Just all the moves and the timing and everything. She did fantastic, man. She did very well.
One of the good things about Liv is she's a wrestling fan. It's one of the things that makes Bayley so good is she's a wrestling fan. I remember when, you remember the Funkasaurus? It was the Funkasaurus, and the background dancers were Naomi and Cameron. I think the other girl's name was.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Cameron and Naomi.
And Cameron was on Tough Enough or one of those type shows. Maybe it was the Diva Search one, but whatever. She was on one of those shows. And I remember Stone Cold asking her what her favorite match was. And she said, like Eve Torres versus like Layla was her favorite all-time match. And Stone Cold was like, that's your favorite match of all time? Eve Torres versus Layla? And he was so pissed. And I'm pissed too that those words would come out, like in the same sentence, those words would come out of a person's mouth that would be a person's favorite match. So she clearly is not a wrestling fan. Because no wrestling fan would ever say that. But if you were to ask somebody like Liv or ask somebody like Bayley, they would give you a legitimate great match because they watch wrestling. They grew up watching wrestling, and it shows in their craft that they love wrestling.
But it's all, I get what you're saying. I do. But again, I guess it's kind of subjective.
No,
yes. But hear me out. No, hear me out though, because most people probably have no clue what match she's talking about. And so on the flip side of that coin, like, okay, well, she's familiar with a match that most people aren't, and for whatever reason found it appealing. And
I see your point. I don't think
I'm not saying but I can tell you right now, whenever we get to this, one of all-time matches I've ever seen is probably not going to be in anybody's top 10, 15, or 20. I still think it was a fantastic match, but it's
probably
not
talking the same match: Bastion Booker versus Henry Godwin at In Your House 6. I mean, it was one of my favorite matches too.
Yeah, yes. Anyways, but I think now back to the women's chamber. I think the problem now is, I think everybody saw Becky winning happening.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, do you give her the belt back, or do you continue with this recent string of long-term title reigns with the still white-hot Ripley? I think you got to let her keep the title.
I think Becky needs the title to be relevant.
I agree.
Yeah. Put it on someone who needs it.
But I think a lot of that may shape up with what they're going to do with Judgment Day going forward. I think inevitably they're going to turn on Damian Priest. But it's just, I personally think, regardless of where that storyline goes, that I think they should keep the title on Ripley.
Yeah,
I mean, they just centered an entire pay-per-view around her, had her main event, had her win, and I mean, just I think they got to let her keep rolling with it, but they could have Becky do a finger poke of doom and then end the reign. And but no, I think I'm looking forward to that match though a lot. I think it's going to be a great match. And
two great workers.
Oh, did you catch when Corey Graves said, "Well, it's official. Becky Lynch is going to be facing Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania for the title," before the Rhea Ripley Nia Jax match happened?
Yes. But like we posted on Twitter, there was never a chance that Nia Jax was going to win that match. He can't do what he did. You can't make that mistake. But I'll cut him some slack. It was his birthday.
Well, besides that, did you see how he tried to fix it? He's like, hey, I just got a text from an angry Nia Jax reminding me that it's going to be her versus...
He's a professional, but also there's probably somebody in his... Triple H is probably in his ear saying, you dumbass, you can't say that.
I thought it was funny. And then, yeah. But no, I agree with you, man. No, like, common sense with how much they've built around it and everything, you know. And dude, at first, I guess I was a little upset with the way it went down, even though I knew it was going to happen, because she had just been slammed twice through the announce table and took the Annihilator, which to this point nobody's gotten out from. I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
We'll get to that match in a second. One more thing I want to say about the women's chamber match. Last thing, I thought it was a hell of a match. I'll say that. But there's one. I have more than one, but I have a lot of pet peeves, actually. So I'm not going to tell you it's only one. But one of my pet peeves is when the big person, in this match, it was Raquel, when they put multiple people on them to pin, and then when they throw their arms up and everybody jumps up, I hate that with all my heart. Because they three of them tried to pin her, and then she put her arms up, and it just always looks so fake. And they do it in Rumbles. They've done it in every Rumble that Nia Jax has ever been in, when all the girls try to attack Nia Jax, and she just does this with her arms, and they all go flying back. It is the least believable thing that you'll ever find in professional wrestling. And there's a lot of stuff that's not believable.
Yeah, I mean, I see what your point. I mean, it's one of those things that I think I've just come to accept when watching it, that it's going to happen.
It is going to happen.
Like because the multiple cover, like, it hardly ever works, first of all. And then, but yes, inevitably somebody is going to do a rock oversell of a stunner and go flying, and like, you know, and so, yeah, but
a part of wrestling is suspending disbelief. I mean, that's just a part of wrestling, and I get that.
Yes.
But I wish they would get rid of that.
Well, they say, wish in one hand, crap in the other, see what fills up first. So, yeah, that's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No, it's not. But it was at this point in time in the pay-per-view that they let us know that R-Truth was accidentally in Austria as opposed to Australia. I don't even think that they showed... Did they show R-Truth in the actual pay-per-view? Or was it after, where they showed a vignette of him in Austria?
I did not see that, but I feel like they said it was like on his social media or something. But I have not seen the clip yet.
I knew I saw it. I just don't remember when and where I saw it. But
yeah,
I will say that R-Truth is amazing. And I don't care what anybody says. There's no such thing as a first ballot Hall of Famer, and that fake Hall of Fame over there in WWE. Don't even get me started on that. But if he doesn't get in the Hall of Fame,
he will. Dude, you know good and well he's going to. I mean,
you're putting Coco Beware in the Hall of Fame, then you got to put R-Truth in the Hall of Fame.
That's not even a question. He's going.
Beloved.
Oh yeah. What was the next match?
It was the tag team match.
Oh, that was amazing.
With the New Catch Republic. What do you think of the name, the New Catch Republic?
I was just confused. I knew there had to be some backstory, because apparently I missed the explanation for it when they did that promo or whatever it was with those two talking about the name. But then once they explained it a little bit, I was like, okay, well, that's something, you know, about where they're from and all that. So, I mean, hey, you know, not, you know, kind of like, when I first heard it. But then, you know, when they kind of explained it again today during the broadcast, or I'm sorry, was that yesterday during the broadcast? It's like, okay, well, you know, so be it. And dude, God, man, though, that was a great match.
And the one thing that I want to say is, and I've said the one thing probably 30 times already in this podcast, but I'm a big guy on entrances. Their music was terrible.
I didn't hate it as much as you did.
I hated it.
I didn't think it was
absolutely
that bad.
Hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I'll get used to it. It's not I didn't vomit, but not a fan, and I hope they change it.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that.
Dom.
But I am.
The heat that Dom got, you cannot. He's amazing. He's amazing on how far he's gotten from when he first started, and he got, what do they call it, X-Pac heat, where people just booed him because they didn't want him there. Now they boo him because they hate him. And
Oh yeah,
he got booed so badly. And I'm actually of the mindset that they were piping in some of that, and I could be wrong, but it was so much that I felt like
that's what has been being said. But then, but you've
people
had,
that were there.
Yes,
I see people just on message boards. I was there. That wasn't piped in. I almost find it hard to believe that he got booed that hard. And if he did, good on him. And regardless if he did or he didn't, I know he was getting booed, and I have respected the amount of improvement that he's had. I always respect a wrestler who can improve. That was one of the reasons, Ava Marie didn't ever work out, because she was bad. They booed her, and then she never got better. Dom has gotten exponentially better since day one. So good on him for working and getting better.
And I thought that was hilarious. It's to the point now that I really think that even if they don't have any plans for him to grab the microphone, that he just has the wherewithal to do it on his own, because he knows there's going to be that type of reaction.
Yeah.
And I got to say, though, as much as I love that match, I love him. I love how they keep bringing heat to him, which I know that will continue. But even though I know it's part of it, they didn't need to have. I hate that his interference. I just don't like when great matches are going like that and there's some type of interference that changes the outcome. Like when Pete Dunne hit the bitter end, and then he took Balor's leg and threw it up on the rope. And, then they finally gave him the boot. And then I liked the ending of the match. I thought the ending of the match was very good. And, but it was just, and I know it's part of it. And you knew that the titles weren't being taken off of them prior to Mania, if then. But I just still, I think they could have had the same result and without the interference. I just get upset when they have the interference angle when it's not necessary.
Yeah.
Because remember, God, what was that one? I think it was the first pay-per-view match that Cena and Styles had. And it was fantastic. And then the Good Brothers came in and did the Magic Killer, and Styles won. And it was already a great match without that. And it wasn't really, I didn't think it was, just stuff like that, man. When you've got a great match going on. Now, granted, I know in the context of furthering him getting heat and just, that and all that stuff, I do get that. But still, that's my only complaint with that, even though I think common sense would say the titles weren't changing hands at that paper, not from them. They're building them up too strong, and there's the signs of dissension are kind of not really there at this point. Right now, like when it looked like it was at its peak, it's kind of like getting down to a valley, because the R-Truth thing has kind of not been happening for the past few weeks as much as it had been. So, again, I think common sense would say titles weren't changing hands anyway. So it's like, was that really necessary when the match was fantastic? And if they ever break Dunn and Bate up, I could sit there and watch them wrestle a 20-minute match every single day. Those are two talented guys.
Yeah. I mean, Pete Dunne, he's so good. He's just so good. And obviously Bate's good too, but first of all, I'm glad that we're talking about Pete Dunne and not Bush. I'll say that. And I will also say that watching him wrestle under the Pete Dunne name again, he just looked so much more free. It was, and I know it's just a name, but when you have a character that you create and cultivate, and then they just try to change it and have him wear a bowler or whatever hat or beret, whatever the heck he was wearing before, and suspenders, and just look like a complete idiot. To me, he had to have been at a low point, because who wouldn't be? He was great in NXT, and then he comes over to the main roster, and they just abuse him. They just emasculate him in front of the whole world.
Well, that was going on for, at that time, that was happening all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah. It was. At least Triple H had the wherewithal to change one person's name back. I think that you and I would both like for them to change back Gunther to Walter, which they're not going to do now.
Yeah.
There would not be. I don't think they can do it now, because he's so hot and he's had the title for so long. You can't just change his name now.
I know.
So it's not going to happen. And
they
I'm
could
fine
at
with
least
that.
bring back his old music. It was so much better. Oh my God! I was like, why do they have to change the music?
What letters are going to be though? And the entrance.
I mean, I was still in shock they changed that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah. Speaking of which, though, point I was saying earlier, then we can go on to the next match. But Pete Dunne versus Walter at TakeOver Brooklyn before WrestleMania 35. That is one of my all-time favorite matches. And
it was amazing.
And
it was amazing.
And I know me and you have talked about, we're going to touch on that entire event because of how top to bottom amazing it was. But just, that match in particular, and the fact that, and I don't know, maybe it's because me and you were there, and it was for the UK title that Dunn had over a year at that point, I believe.
Yep.
And then Walter, the artist formerly known as Walter.
I don't know who Walter is.
Yeah, he beat him and took the title. But I mean, the crowd was already hot at that event. But the fact that there were so many like European fans there, and we were sitting by a group of them there for a lot of the events we were there for. We were by some of the same people and just awesome fans, and that just made it that much better. But I think we've already talked about. We're going to talk about that whole event in full and a future date for our wives to listen to us talk about.
Since they won't listen to me talk just in the living room, this is our way of forcing them to listen. Because if they don't, then they don't enjoy in our interests. So
exactly.
I'm going to have something that I didn't like about everything, and every single time it's probably going to be irrational. But in that match, they played up how strong Tyler Bate is, which is great.
He's like Cesaro, pound for pound strong.
I agree. Here's my issue with that. Damian Priest is tall. Damian Priest is not big. He doesn't weigh that much. And the amount that they made him struggle to play up how big Priest is and how strong he is, the amount that they made him struggle to lift him up onto his shoulders was idiotic to me, because it wasn't the Big Show. It wasn't Big Viscera. It wasn't Mark Henry. It was a man who's 250 pounds, which as an average person is big. I looked it up.
He's only 249.
I looked it up. I was so mad that I looked up how much he weighed. It said
how tall is he? How tall is he?
6'5", 249.
No.
Yes. I am 6'6", 245 right now. If he struggled to lift me, I'd be like, you're not strong. So the optics of it, because he is tall and Bates not. Okay, but if you actually think about it, Damian Priest is not that big. If he's so strong, he should be able to easily squat.
I see what you're saying.
He should have been able to manhandle him with the amount that they were playing up how strong he is. And he is strong.
Absolutely.
I know that he was not struggling to lift Damian Priest. I know that was part of his facials, part of his act. And I get that. But he's not the guy, I think, that you have that reaction to trying to lift up. And to me, he came off as not being as strong, even though they were shoving down our throat during the broadcast. Michael Cole was telling us how strong he is. He just didn't come off as that strong to me because of that. Now, the things that he did to him once he finally lifted him up after the third try because he couldn't get him up before, he manhandled him.
I think that furthers your point, though.
Yeah.
The fact he could easily do that, showing how strong he really is by keeping him up there on his shoulders that long and spinning him around. Yes, that just goes to further the point you're making. Yeah. And I think they missed a perfect opportunity to do like a Cena type spot. I think that guy is strong enough. He could have put both of them up on his shoulders and done that spin a couple of times.
Easily. What's Finn Balor? 190?
And I think they missed an opportunity to do a little fan service there, and they just. But, anyways, I really like that match though. That
also,
was good.
how does the coup de grace not kill people? I don't want to look up how it's done, but because I want to believe that it's a devastating maneuver. But for a person to jump that high and land directly on a man's chest is insane to me that he doesn't hurt people.
No, and that just to me says how safe of a worker he's got to be.
Yeah,
I mean, for the fact, because I don't care if in comparison to some of the other guys, he's not the heaviest guy on the roster. But I agree, man. You're jumping up from that high. If you don't do that, if you in tandem with the person on the receiving end of it isn't doing it right, oh, dude, absolutely, man. You
crush a chest cavity,
broken rib, crack rib, something, and I wholeheartly agree.
One of the most devastating finishers, in my opinion, if you actually think about what he's doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, and there's a lot of those maneuvers, dude. I mean, even the Annihilator. I know they're careful, and they, there's a way to receive a move like that. But dude, just think of some of the ways like when Yokozuna would do it, and just the way he did it looked like he would literally, and then they're perfectly okay.
Yeah.
It just
that's why they're professionals, and that's why there's a disclaimer to not try these at home. Because if I tried that, not only would I get hurt, I'd kill the person I'm jumping on top of. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, so
next Waller
next
effect?
up was the Waller effect. I am not a fan of segments like this on pay-per-views. I think that pay-per-view should highlight wrestling.
You knew they were going to have Waller being from there to do it.
Of course. Give him a match, though.
And I do love the scrolling tweets that are clearly made up. I think those are amazing. At least I assume they're clearly made up because they're also complimentary of the show, of the segment. So.
They're definitely made up. But one of the things that I noticed when Grayson Waller came out, he got a pop, but it wasn't the pop I would have expected from a home crowd. Maybe it was because my TV wasn't as loud because I wasn't trying to wake up my whole family. But the pop that he got compared to the pop that Rhea Ripley got.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. Now, Corey Graves was trying to talk about the pop, but who knows? Maybe some issue with the sound, but also to what you just said earlier. It's like, yeah, he's got that segment to keep him on TV, but he's not wrestling that much right now.
Yeah.
And when they are, he's not getting a bunch of high profile wins or anything like that. So, I mean, he's not going to get the same reaction as Rhea Ripley is. And but I mean, I like that kind of old school humor about, making fun of the other country and like that they've always done in WWE. Like when he made that crack about due to Cody's education in the American school systems, he's not able to finish his story. I thought that was hilarious. Just so childish, but so funny too.
Yeah. And this was about the time in the pay-per-view where my kids came down from waking up in the morning. And the first thing that my son said, which I did not pick up on, originally was, why is Seth Rollins wearing Velveteen Dream's glasses? And I because something looked familiar with the glasses, but he knew right away he's wearing Velveteen Dream's glasses, and I said, "You are right. Those are the glasses that Velveteen Dream." I have a purple shirt with Velveteen's face on it, and he's wearing those glasses.
Third eye?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't.
Seth Rollins was wearing the third eye glasses.
No, I know that. I didn't realize though, because when you posted that on X the other day, and by the way, if any of our 2 followers didn't like anything that was posted, Josh did all those the other day. But when you said that about Velveteen Dream, I thought it was just because he like wore those style of them. I didn't realize that he had the one with the
which I thought was a choice. It was funny because we were talking about Dream a couple days before, and then he came out in those glasses. But
yeah,
I'm a big Seth Rollins fan. I think that he's great. I think that he is just an amazing professional wrestler. I think he has the total package. He has the look. He's bigger than you would think he is. When you see him next to other guys, to me, he has a presence. He never looks small. He's technically sound. I think he's a good talker, a good worker. I personally think he has the total package, and he's one of my favorite wrestlers in this era. And I think that him as an antagonizer, I think, is the role that he's born to play, which is what he's doing right now. A lot of what he's doing right now with the feud between Cody and the Bloodline. But I just think that he's great. I think that Cody's great. I think that Austin Theory, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but his body when he took his shirt off, he has an amazing physique, and I can see why Vince McMahon just was enamored by him, because he's got like 0% body fat. He's got every muscle that you could ask for. And he's just a specimen to look at. It's not my favorite in the ring, but I see that there is talent there with him. And while I thought the segment was unnecessary, I do understand why they had to have it.
I don't.
Well, what's the next pay-per-view? Riyadh?
No, WrestleMania.
Are you sure that there's not a Saudi Arabian pay-per-view in between the two?
Yes. Because
then when are they going to Saudi Arabia then? I thought that they were sneaking a Saudi Arabian pay-per-view in between the two. You're on sure? I'll trust you.
Now I'm about to look, but no, there's no way. No. I see where you're going with this, but no, they're going to set up a night one Rollins Rhodes versus Rock and Roman. It's got to be.
Yeah, it does. The call out seemed weird to me. It just didn't seem natural. I don't know. One of the things that I did like and I thought was hilarious was when Seth Rollins was egging on Austin Theory to do the Rock's "If You Smell What the Rock Is Cooking." And that's when that's when the physical confrontation started. And he was going, "If you smell," and then he hit him. And then while he was getting thrown into the sign behind, he was still saying, "If you smell." He was doing it until he got hit, as opposed to stopping. A little thing like that, to me, was hilarious. I thought it was great heel work by Austin Theory. I mean, I don't think that there's probably too much to say about this segment. Waller did drink out of a shoe with Tui Tuivasa. I don't know if you watched.
Oh no, I saw the
MMA.
I saw the shoey. Yeah,
or UFC very much, but the guy he did that with, he does that after every win.
Yep.
He drinks out of the shoe.
Like a
shoey. Well, he's got money; he can buy new ones.
No, okay. My issue with that was I don't think it was necessary at all. The way I mean. Unless they just said, "Oh, hey, we got to have Grayson Waller on here.
Yeah,
we got to do this session." Had the Bloodline been there, yes,
yeah,
but with them not there, I mean, it is what it is. You know, fans went nuts. Fans got to see Rollins sing along. Fans got to pop for Cody and see a big Cody fireworks show. But Austin Theory has all the tools, and they keep just like dragging him through the mud, man.
Yeah.
But I was curious at first. I was like, what is going on here with, is that part of the like what Roman Reigns told Grayson Waller? Was that why he didn't help out his buddy, or what was going on? But then the more I thought about it, I was like, okay, are they setting up something for these two guys to do because they keep showing them on TV?
Mm-hmm.
And when he snatched the microphone from him, is that going to be like their segue into a Mania match? Like, hey, you tried to hijack my show in my country. Is that the angle they're going to go at, and have a singles match between those two, like friends turned enemies kind of a thing? But then it's like, okay, you got two guys that need some type of in-ring momentum. So what? I mean, and only one of them can win. So, I mean, it's a far cry. And granted, they've got plenty of time. He's young, he's talented. But this is a far cry from them letting him beat John Cena in the opening match of Mania last year.
Yeah.
And I think it was the opening match of one of the days. But
it is. I understand it, though. Vince loved him. He's not Triple H's favorite. I think that's clear by the way that Triple H has booked him since Vince has left the scene. I'm not saying that Triple H dislikes him. I just don't think that he has the same view of him as Vince did.
But there's ways to fix the things he doesn't like because he has the talent, in my opinion.
I don't think that he has the same opinion as you and I do. I think that he sees a deficiency in him and doesn't want to waste his time on him as much as Vince was willing to do. I don't agree with Triple H, but I think that he would find more things for him to do if he viewed him the same way that we view him.
I mean, with such a talented roster and everything you have going on, I think you could easily come up with something and repackage him, or do something different, and not let that talent go to waste. And I know a lot of people probably disagree, like, oh, he's not that great, this and that. I think he could be turned into a very successful guy long term if they want to.
He has a very punchable face, and that tends to work well for heels. If you have a punchable face,
yeah,
you can be a heel all day long. I don't think that he can be a baby face. I just don't.
Not at this point. I agree with that.
See him, as the kids would say, standing on business as he was defending the WWE to the guy who said it was fake at the airport. Have you seen that video yet?
I have not.
He went full overseas Vader on on a reporter, and had to be separated from him because he called the industry fake. It was a very babyface moment for a heel that got caught on tape. I personally think it was staged. Maybe it wasn't, but you should check that out. Austin Theory, airport reporter. Just type that in. You'll see it.
Okay.
Good for him. I was happy he did that, because kayfabe is dead for the most part, and I blame social media. There's nothing that the WWE can do to bring it back to what it was when we were kids, because there's just too much information out there. There's too accessible. But to see a guy actually care about trying to protect the business when most people just don't do that, I was happy to see that. But let's not waste any more time on that. Let's talk about the men's chamber match, which was the next up.
Wait, hold on real quick. So where do you think this is all going? I can't get anything to pull up about. I don't think that they keep calling this the last stop before WrestleMania. So I think there's no Saudi Arabia event.
Okay. If that is the case, which I could be wrong, maybe I was just hoping that there was something else, because for him to say that, I feel like there needs to be a one-on. The way he worded it, I feel like there needs to be a one-on-one match. He didn't word it in a way where it's going to be a tag team match, even though you're probably right. He could also just be laying seeds for after WrestleMania.
I mean, I just don't see why they would keep having Seth Rollins involved with this if there wasn't going to be some type of tag team match.
I guess we didn't even talk about probably one of the most important things of that is Seth Rollins saying that he is going to be medically cleared in a couple days to wrestle, which is obviously very important. He came back from, it sounded like a pretty bad injury, much faster than I thought he would. I did not think he was going to be medically cleared before WrestleMania. But for him to say that, whether it's true or not, I don't know. I don't believe half of what wrestlers say, as no one should. But for him to say that,
well, also too, I mean, I think the timetables are probably just your average recovery times. But then again, too, not everybody has access to the top physicians and rehabilitation facilities in the nation, and like that are a phone call or a private plane ride away to go across the country or do whatever you got to do, you know, sometimes multiple times a week or whatever the case may be, as these guys do.
yeah.
And so, I mean, because I've thought that too, like, oh, wait a second, how did they embellish the injury? But then it's like, well, not necessarily. I mean, just sometimes, I guess, if you have the access to that type of care and rehab, that, you know, and the injury itself, they said, wasn't as bad as they thought it was initially.
Yeah, glad he's going to be cleared, though.
Yeah, and I honestly think it's going to be I think Drew's going to beat him. And
are you saying there's going to be a singles match on one night,
yes,
and then a tag team match on another? So they're going to have him wrestle twice?
Oh,
Is that what we're saying? Because Seth has to wrestle Drew.
Yeah, I wasn't. You know, I'll be honest with you. I had kind of forgot that initially the plan was for Punk versus him to headline night one, and then it was going to be Reigns' belt the next night.
Right.
But dude, they've obviously had to make changes. So yeah, you know what, dude? Obviously, I mean, because that would have. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be the title match, but I think Seth Rollins, and I know he doesn't have the final say probably, but I mean, in terms of the spotlight on him, it's still a main event match. You're still in the ring with The Rock.
Yeah.
And so who cares? Who cares if you don't go on the second night? You've main event a WrestleMania event with The Rock.
But even if he's medically cleared, can you wrestle 2 matches in 2 days? I mean, that's a lot on a newly repaired knee to ask of a guy. And I guess we're still a month away.
Yeah, you're still a month away. I'm sure they're not going to have him, assuming they're not going to have him wrestle that much on Raw over the next month.
He doesn't need to wrestle at all. I mean, he's a pro.
And I saw where Randy Orton, I think, had replaced him on the live event circuit when the injury happened. So I don't think he's doing all the city dates currently.
Right.
But when it's said and done, man, I think we're about to see a cash in.
I often forget that he even has that thing.
Yeah, no, and I think that may be the intention. Because remember, for a while there, it was the teases all the time, and then kind of like there haven't been as many. But
is it going to be successful?
I don't know. There's so many other things at play. I know we can get into a whole lot of that, because I know they're having that big show in Germany. After Mania.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you know, have McIntyre, you know, be on his side of the pond with the belt.
Yeah.
And, you know, they could be, you know, now that, I mean, I'm sure that wasn't the original plan necessarily, since it was supposed to be Rollins versus
Punk.
Rollins versus Punk. But now things have changed. And, you know, when you do stuff to, you know, increase the bank account, so to speak. And I mean, there's so many options, but I mean, we're coming up, because unless something's changed, I think you've got 1 year from getting the briefcase to cash it in. So, I mean, that's coming up soon. So it's got to be done at some point or the other. But I think with the whole injured knee thing, if he beats McIntyre, if they have him beat McIntyre, I think he's going to get cashed in on. Or also, too, if Drew is leaving the company, they could They could have they could even have Drew win, get that crowd reaction that he was robbed of previously, and then still get cashed in. Then they could start a program with Rollins and Priest if they wanted to. So many different options, but I think the briefcase is about to come into play soon. It has to. It has to. I mean, they're running out of time. But yeah, dude, I'm actually shocked that there was no member of the bloodline there in Australia for that so far in advance advertised thing, unless they didn't want to take too much of the attention away from Rhea in the main event, which is possible.
Yeah.
But
I mean, they made that the main event.
Yeah.
Whether it was the right choice,
I think it was.
It probably was.
I think it was.
I'm not a big fan of Nia getting a main event. I'm obviously a big fan of Ripley getting a main event.
I really enjoyed the match. But
I did too. But we got to talk about the men's match first. So, boy, is Logan Paul talented. And I hate saying that. But
he's awesome.
But he gets it.
Yes, he does.
He just gets it. And you can have whatever feelings you want about the guy. He appears to enjoy what he's doing. He appears to be receptive to criticism. He appears to train. I mean, he looks great. He's got a good body. He's just an absolute natural. Just in that ring, he knows what he's doing. There's not enough superlatives that I can dish out to him. He's just great.
And I personally, I've never been a big social media guy. Like I told you, until we did this and you made the podcast X account, Instagram account, TikTok, I don't have any of those. And I don't like regularly watch a whole lot of YouTube channels. So I wasn't real familiar with who he was until I started hearing his name about some of the boxing events and stuff like that. And then, figured out that, some of these videos and some of the controversy surrounding him with some of the places he's gone and made some of these videos and, just some of the content. And then, I know he's got his own very successful, it's the Impulsive podcast, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. I know that's very successful. And
his Prime Energy drink.
Oh yeah. Yes.
He's got all that stuff.
And I knew about that. And it's like, and say what you will about the guy on a personal level and what he's doing, but if you agree with it or don't agree with it, nobody can sit here and say the guy is dumb or stupid. Right. He knows exactly what he's doing.
At all times.
He's built this business empire that is very successful. It doesn't surprise me at all that and I'm not saying that you're saying you were surprised, but it doesn't surprise me at all that he's been that receptive to criticism or anything like that, because at the end of the day, all he's doing by coming in there and wanting to learn and doing what he can and keeping his ears and mind open, he's just giving himself and his brand more exposure.
Exactly. But the one thing that I am surprised by are the bumps that he takes.
I'm not.
Because he's got a lot of money. A lot of those bumps, they look there. The spear that he took from Bobby Lashley through the pod, that looked painful. And I know it probably wasn't, but it looked. It was a tough bump.
No, I'm sure it didn't feel too good. No, I'm honestly, I'm not surprised, because of that very point. It's like, okay, he gets hurt and can't wrestle for a while. It's not going to stop him from doing his podcast. It's not going to stop him from selling Prime. I mean, the flow of cash is still going to be coming in from multiple other directions. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying the guy wants to get hurt in there or anything. I know nobody wants that, but it doesn't surprise me, that he seems to have that. Hey, yeah, let's try it. Like
Yeah.
kind of like I would, and I know the company as a whole has kind of steered clear of this, but I would not be surprised if they ever dipped back into that well, if they did like a hardcore like Mick Foley type match with him at the center of it with another wrestler. If they ever, I'm just saying that I'm just giving an example of like, I think he's got that mentality like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
I don't think the company will do it.
No, I think the hardcore days are over.
Oh yeah, I agree.
If you can't take a chair shot to the head, and if they're not going to have any blood, then you can't have the attitude era hardcore matches that you and I had grown accustomed to. I mean, you can maybe throw some thumbtacks down, or
I could see him if obviously it was Mick Foley on the receiving end, but I could see them saying if he was in that position at the time, like, hey, we want Edge to spear you onto a flaming fold out table. He'd be like, all right, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. I could see Randy Orton saying that. I mean, he's had some decent heart, and which is who he's gonna start his next program with, which is also awesome that they trust him enough to have a program with Randy Orton. That's
the only reason I don't agree with necessarily the hardcore aspect of that is some of those bumps and stuff. I mean, the guy's coming off a major back surgery.
And boy, did he sell the hell out of his back at the end of that match. I did too. I thought that his back was hurting. I was like, man, Randy, no. I literally thought that his career might be over.
Yeah, and I was a little concerned. Good. Kudos.
I was completely in the moment.
Kudos to them. Yeah.
That's why Randy is one of the best ever, because his selling, and that's another issue that I have with Raquel, is just her selling's not there yet. She'll get there. I just don't think her selling's there yet. But I don't want to bash on Raquel any more than I did in the beginning. But Randy's selling is just some of the best ever, because I thought he was dead. I thought his back was broken. I thought he re-injured it. I thought the ref was going to put up the X when he went to go check on Randy. But he was fine. I'm sure he was fine.
Speaking of thinking he was dead and talking about selling, man, Logan Paul was incapacitated for a good 3 minutes after that RKO before he finally got up and
he learned from Triple H. Just sit there for 45 minutes when the match is over. You got to sell it. But also Drew's Claymore kicks, man. I love the Claymore kick. It just looks so brutal. And if you can sell that thing well, oh man, it's beautiful. It's a great move.
I like it too. Yeah, I really like that one too. Gripes about that match. I know it furthered, and I don't have many. I'm thinking it's going to be some type of triple threat, maybe fatal 4-way. I think they may go back to the days of the U.S. title, or what was it, the U.S. title or the. Anyways, they had a ladder match for one of the mid titles at Mania. I think maybe it was the Intercontinental title. They did that a couple of times. I think that's what it was. But I could see them doing something like that, possibly. But then again, too, that goes back into the, if Orton's involved, do they want to I mean, he doesn't have to take a huge bump like falling off a ladder, but I could definitely see them getting Logan Paul to fall off the ladder.
Yeah.
And but I could see at the very least, let's see, Owens, Orton, and Paul. And I don't know if they would throw anybody else in there, because I think it's a lock. AJ Styles versus LA Knight is going to be a singles match.
Yep.
And dude, I tell you what, man, those, though he did a great job, AJ Styles did, of making those chair shots look legit, man. That was good. Good.
Those were very good chair shots. They were definitely believable chair shots, which you don't get.
No, not anymore
with today's product.
No, that was good. That was very good.
Nowadays, you get those Hogan chair shots that are like pillows hitting a person. But he went all out.
Oh,
He
that
went
was
all
good.
out on his back.
That was good. But who's left? With that,
Well, Bobby was the only other person that yet. So there was
who eliminated Bobby?
Bobby was eliminated by Drew. He gave him a Claymore.
Oh, never mind. So I don't think he'd be in that match. They're going to do the whole.
You can't have him in like a ladder match.
No, but they still got the whole the Last Testament and the and Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits stable. That they're going to have some sort of match in Mania. So I'm thinking, with that said, more likely a triple threat for the U.S. title.
Yeah,
but with that said, if they go the way of triple threat instead of one-on-one Orton versus him, I don't think the cheap victory for McIntyre was necessary. I think they could have just say, I mean, it sells itself. You got the history with Owens and Paul, and then Orton eliminating Paul. All griping, great promos, forthcoming, and you got yourself a match. And then I think what I thought was about to happen when he was setting up for the Claymore, I thought he was going to hit Randy with his own punt kick. I thought it was coming.
Punt kick's gone.
Because he had been hesitant, to like do what he needed to do, and it cost him some matches. I was like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity. They're gonna have him do Orton's own punt kick to do it. And then, they did that angle. I didn't think it was necessary to do the brass knuckles thing, because I think they could have easily sold that forthcoming program.
Well, I mean, the brass knuckles is a callback to Kevin Owens' match.
That's his thing now, is the brass knuckles and everything. So.
And he's a boxer, so he's known for a punch.
Yeah.
But you don't want to make Randy look weak. So just him punching Randy shouldn't knock him out. So you got to have the brass knuckles to make Randy look strong.
Oh, no, I guess maybe I didn't. I don't think they should have done that at all. They could have had just Drew just keep punishing him into submission for the back injury aspect, and then just putting like giving him the Claymore out of mercy, or some just or even having him call off the match or something. But maybe not that far. But I just don't think him getting re-involved was necessary.
Yeah,
for continuing a storyline or starting a triple threat storyline that they already had the seeds planted there. It was easy. You had him and Owens, and then, hey, he eliminated me. I've got beef with you. I mean, hey,
right.
But again, I think the right person won, so it's a minor complaint. I just didn't think that was necessary. But again, it kind of, I don't know if they're furthering just the seeds of like McIntyre being hypocritical about winning cheaply, because that was his gripe with the bloodline. That goes back to Monday Night Raw when, the throwback to the way Solo came out of the crowd with the hoodie and, cost him at Clash at the Castle. You could see he was kind of conflicted, but then went ahead and beat Cody anyways. Right. So I know they've already kind of said, hey, it doesn't matter. He'll win cheaply at this point, do whatever he can to win. But I didn't think that furthered a story. I don't think it was necessary for the side story in this case.
Yeah.
But
only other thing I'll say about this match is whenever Drew McIntyre does one of those kip-ups, I'm always impressed that a man with carrying that much weight can do that, because he's a big guy.
Oh, yeah.
For him to be able to do that, that's crazy. I've tried to do a kip-up about once a week just to see if I can do it. Never come close. And
all right. Well, we'll have to start our next episode with you attempting that for our wives to watch on the
start every episode that way until I can do it.
Well, then well, wives, thank you for our one and only episode. And I guess, let's see. So Lashley and the Street Profits more likely heading for a 6-man tag against Last Testament. We got
Randy
AJ
and Logan.
Styles versus
AJ and
LA Knight.
LA
I think
Knight.
that'll be a fantastic match. I think that's going to be great.
That actually, LA Knight in a vignette calling Drew McIntyre an old timer when he's like 5 years older.
Oh yeah,
than Drew McIntyre. I don't know why I laughed at that, but
because it's funny.
All right, listen here, old timer. Like, you're older than him.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
No,
I thought that was hilarious. But that'll be a good match.
And then if they do go the triple threat direction, I think that'll be fantastic. Those guys are all great. And
we didn't really say anything about Kevin Owens, but I just want to say that he's an excellent worker. I love Kevin Owens. I think he does a great job in everything he does. So I don't want to make it seem like he's a forgotten man.
Oh, he's not.
in the chamber, he's amazing. Speaking of carrying weight, obviously he doesn't have the physique that the other guys do, but his athleticism that he exhibits night in and night out, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, very, very, very good match. That was very good. So our main event, Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax, and dude, I thought it was a great match. I think since she's been back, I think Nia Jax to me looks much better and more comfortable in the ring.
She does.
And
she does.
And I know me and you talked about this, the spot with not moving the monitors before she slammed her into the table. And when I saw the replay, I don't necessarily think she slammed her either right on it or as close as it looked at first time watching it or live. But also something else I thought of is possibly that table was supposed to break at that time. And so obviously it wouldn't have much of a difference anyways, it's not like they're jumping off of the damn turnbuckle. And so I don't know, because I know she kind of has a bad rap, or I don't know if you saw the sign in the crowd, Nia injured me.
Well, have you seen the replay of her when she did the elbow drop that ultimately did break the table on Rhea Ripley? I don't know if you've seen the replay of that, but she jumps off the chair to do the elbow drop. If you go watch the replay, she slips on the chair and she doesn't get the distance to get to Ripley. So you can actually see Ripley put her arm out to grab Nia, catch her, to make sure that she goes through the table and actually hits her. So she puts out her arms to catch her because she slips. And it looks like I didn't notice it live. Their production team for WWE is top notch. They try to.
I didn't know, because usually I'll catch if that looked off or something.
Yeah, no, she had to catch her, and I don't think anybody would have gotten hurt if she didn't catch her, but it would have looked really bad had she not done that, because she would have completely whiffed getting Ripley. The table would have broken, and it would have just looked terrible. So Ripley, she could make me and you look good. I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah, but man, even with that though, I think Nia Jax looked great in the match too. I think she did. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think it was great because she was getting carried by Rhea.
I understand. And I'll tell you who doesn't agree with you. Have you heard Dave Meltzer's viewpoint on the match?
I have not. No, I've not. I have not seen. The only I think the only thing I saw was the Bleacher Report stuff on it. I've not seen what Dave Meltzer said on it.
Well, we know how Dave Meltzer hates the WWE anyway. He refuses to give anything 5 stars from WWE. He just unnecessarily, in my opinion, him and I can't remember who he was talking to on whatever he was doing on social media, but they were very low on Nia Jax's performance, and they thought that she was awful. And I just didn't see it that way. The comment section didn't appear to see it that way either. They just viewed it as Meltzer's normal hating for matches in the WWE.
Well, people say that, but me and you, we actually, it's funny because we just talked about this like last week. You say that, and yeah, I see why people think he hates on them all the time, but obviously he just has some formula for his way of thinking and doing his ratings that, and to his credit, it seems like he's always done that. But at the same
he's
time,
consistent. He's definitely
at the same
consistent.
time, I think he gives credit to the good stuff for the most part. Like, didn't he give like the Cena Punk Money in the Bank Classic a 5-star? Wasn't that a 5-star match? And then I think,
that was what, 12 years ago.
But
Longer.
I'm just giving examples, because and then the NXT Brooklyn that we were at, that was overall, I think, if I remember the report correctly, collectively as a whole event, the highest star rating, like as of all the matches combined,
right,
of any event. So again, with that said, I don't agree if that is what he said. Like if he was slamming her performance, I didn't see it that way. But I know he gets a lot of hate for his views on a lot of WWE matches and how high he is on like AEW and all that. But I think he can give credit, or he does give credit when it's due, and does like a lot of the same stuff that I thought was great. But
he did not like.
Obviously
her
not
performance.
in this case, but
he did not like her performance. Yeah. But I thought that she did much better. She's in much better shape than she was before. You can tell that she was probably working on her craft when she was away from the WWE. Because I don't think she liked being away from the WWE. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but I think that her performance she's been very good. She's been very good.
Yeah, I enjoyed the match. I definitely don't agree with anybody who said it was just awful or anything like that. I thought it was good. I thought she played the role that she's been playing here recently, just dominating. And then, like I said, I don't know how I feel about, made the Eradicator finisher, they've put it up there with the Bonsai drop from Yokozuna here of late. And I don't like how they had her slammed on a table and then the elbow drop through the table and then the Eradicator, and she kicked out of that. If it would have been like something where and I know I'm nitpicking, I enjoyed the match and we all knew she was going to win, but just, another one of my favorite matches was Stone Cold and Bret Hart from their first pay-per-view match at Survivor Series.
Right.
When Stone Cold, like in a kind of in an unexpected part of the match, hit a stunner, and he didn't win, but they kind of protected the finisher, and because he grabbed Bret Hart's foot, pulled him back towards the center of the ring, and the announcers, I think it was Jim Ross at the time, was like, "Hey, that may have cost." Him getting him away from the ropes may have cost him the match. And had it been something where, my point is, in that example, they protected the finisher. And in this one, I think they did the complete opposite. And I think had it been something like if Rhea would have gone up the first time, like if they would have had a situation where she goes up for the superplex that she ended up hitting later before Riptide, if she would have gone up for that and fallen, and then Jax hits a flash one, something like that, I could see that more so with no devastating moves prior to it. Her kicking out of that. But I don't like the way they, in my opinion, diminished that finisher with the way they've been building it up to this point.
Yeah, they made Ripley look strong, a little too strong, though. And in the process, it diminishes the hard work that Jackson put into making her finisher be important. And I think that
they still made her look strong, but
that's just one of the issues with WWE now. No one's finisher is protected except for a handful of guys, and Baron Corbin has a protected finisher.
He did.
No, it's just once now, right? I think it's just the one time someone's kicked out of it. So I still think that's protected. But you got guys who
that's fair.
They have a finisher, and it's more of a signature move now as opposed to a finisher, because I think that WWE has forgotten what a finisher is supposed to do. I mean, it's in the name. I don't know how you forget that. It's supposed to finish the opponent, and it just doesn't anymore. You got to get a couple finishers before it's believable that anybody would lose. That's one of my biggest issues with professional wrestling now is they can't find other ways for people to win. So they just have people kick out of finisher after finisher after finisher. And as a fan, I don't believe that these are finishers. I think that they're moves that people do at this point. The super kick is we could do a whole podcast on what they've done to that move. When I was a kid and Shawn Michaels did Sweet Chin Music, I thought the match was over. Now when someone does it, if somebody lost these days to a super kick, I'd be shocked. Or just one. It would be wild.
Oh no, I
that's
agree.
Just the state of wrestling.
No, I agree, and we can touch more on that another time, because me and you talked about this, just getting everything set up to do this, about finishers and other certain things, and but before we and then just talk about something I would like to segue into. On the flip side of that, I think it's kind of ironic, with that said, how Gunther's finishing move primarily now is the power bomb. I mean, that was one that, same thing when Psycho Sid or Diesel did it, you thought the match was over. And then to a degree too, when and again, this was kind of the period I wasn't watching that much, but I've gone back and watched like the American Badass Undertaker when he was doing the last ride. But yeah, I was very surprised when he started using that and winning with it.
Yeah.
And
I'm happy to see that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you protect the finisher and don't let people kick out of it, it's going to be believable. Even if someone started doing a super kick as their finishing move and they got the 1, 2, 3 every single time they did it, fans will believe in that move again. So they just need to go back to having other options. Wrestlers need a signature move and a finishing move. Let someone kick out of a signature move if it's not going to lead to their finishing move, but don't let them consistently kick out of people's finishing moves, because you're not doing the business, in my opinion, any favors by just ruining a move and its mystique.
I agree. And I'm with you. I'm glad that they're bringing it back. And I think he's the perfect one to bring it back to. And that's what I want to talk about now, because the Intercontinental title was not defended in Australia, and that was a gripe I saw online, that it was defended on Raw, but I think that may have been by design,
right?
But I don't know if it was time constraints or whatnot. But great match, him versus main event Jay, and Jimmy interferes, potentially costing Jay the title. Gunther retains, which I don't care. I think once it was announced that was going to be not at WrestleMania, him versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title, we all knew Gunther wasn't losing that title unless it was a WrestleMania, period. I'm sorry. It wasn't happening.
He's had it for too long to lose it on an episodic television match. It's just not going to happen.
Right. But I was kind of wondering like what direction they were going to go in. Did you happen to see what match is tomorrow on Raw? It's Imperium versus the New Day. Okay. I think Big E is coming back and he's taking the title at WrestleMania.
You think so?
And the reason I say that is because I was like, before I go out here and say that, I saw that. I was like, let me see when he's slated to come back, if there's been anything. And I think in January, that seemed to be the most recent article. It was like, well, I don't know, don't want to rush into it. But there was not a specific timetable. And this is the last step. This is the first episode after Elimination Chamber where everything from here on out that wasn't established at that event is now going to have to start being established. And so I know it seems the general consensus seems to be that Sheamus is going to come back. And if it is Sheamus and Sheamus gets the title that's eluded him, so be it. I've got no issues with that. But I do kind of find the timing of Imperium and New Day and the fact that, Jay just lost, setting up the match against Jimmy, and I think it would be a smooth flow into that, assuming he is cleared. So based on the fact it wasn't defended at the pay-per-view, it's Imperium versus New Day tomorrow. I think that would be the easiest way to flow into that. Now, granted, I'm sure Sheamus could come out like if Gunther got involved and come and save the day. But if he's cleared, I think that would get a huge reaction and yeah, give him a Mania spot.
Well, that's a big if. I had chalked it up to, I had put him in the same category as Stone Cold, Edge, guys like that. I figured his career was over.
It very well could be. And again, I'm just basing this on the lack of a definitive timetable that I saw in the articles that I could find, because, I was thinking too, like, hey, I keep hearing Sheamus is about to come back. Sheamus is about to come back. And then when he didn't come back at Royal Rumble, I was like, okay, maybe he's not coming back soon. And because I thought for sure he was going to be in the Royal Rumble. And I thought they could have set up the program right there. Like have some face off with Sheamus, because they've got history, and that never happened. And but again, they could always do that, but isn't and I know they keep bouncing show to show, but for all intents and purposes, isn't Sheamus on SmackDown still? Okay, so I mean that's another reason too that one reason that it may not be Sheamus.
Yeah, but that's inconsequential for them.
I know, but it seems like in terms of the you got the championship, and then on SmackDown you got the U.S. title, and currently on Raw you got the Intercontinental title, and so that's kind of what I was thinking too. But I mean, and dude, it very well, I think common sense would say if it's going to start a new program that with the history involved there, it's Sheamus. I know a lot of people are hoping for Chad Gable, which, hey, kudos to him. If they do it, dude, I can watch that guy wrestle all day too, man. But I guess I'm just kind of surprised I haven't gone back to that yet. And with the Imperium, and if they said tomorrow night on Raw it was going to be the Alpha Academy versus Imperium, I'd say okay, yeah, they're setting it up for a singles match with Gable and Gunther. But and like I said, dude, that's just strictly speculation. This is the first match, or this is the first Raw post Elimination Chamber, and it happens to be Imperium versus New Day. So,
I think the WWE is better when the New Day is active
Yes.
as a complete unit.
Yes.
And if Big E could come back, which would thrust them back into the forefront in some way, form, or fashion, I think that's great. I love the New Day. Where they ended up from where they started is unbelievable. The support that they have from the WWE universe is unbelievable. I mean, hell, we were there for Kofi Mania.
Oh yeah.
We were there for that at WrestleMania 35.
Oh.
We saw how much the crowd was behind him, and Big E. It was such a big hit to their faction once he took that neck injury.
Oh yeah.
They obviously they're not off TV, but they were on TV in a prominent role for years.
Oh, absolutely.
When he was healthy.
Absolutely.
And they pretty much fell off the map once he got hurt. Not fell off. They didn't fall off completely, but they haven't done really anything since he's been hurt.
And it's a shame. It really is. And again, we could do a whole episode on the fall of them and the travesty that was them taking the title off of Kofi the way they did. And that was horrible. But anyways, think of it this way too. And again, I know we're going to have a lot of fun at my expense for some of my bold predictions, as I call them. But think of it this way too. If they did want to bring him back in, if he was able to for his first match, is there not probably one of the more safer and reliable guys for him to work with than Gunther?
Right.
I mean,
he's not going to injure Big E.
Exactly. Now, granted, they may, if he were to win, I think the power bomb is not an option for Big E with his neck. At least not his first match back. They'd have to have him put his knees up for the big splash or something like that, and, obviously there's going to have to be some fall or him reverse the power bomb or something. But I think under no circumstances is Big E taking a power bomb, even though the way that he does it is, you notice how careful he makes a devastating move look. I mean, the way he does it, you can tell like he does it to get the slamming effect, but you can tell it's not like old school, just freaking throw him from way up in the air.
Do you ever watch Maven's podcast or YouTube channel?
Mm-mm.
Or Maven?
Yeah, I know who he is. I didn't know
he's got a pretty good YouTube channel. You should go check it out, where he breaks down a lot of the behind the scenes and what it's like to be a WWE wrestler. Like he's got episodes about how much they actually make. He has episodes about like what they eat on the road. His episodes about what guys were cool to work with, what guys weren't. But he had one episode where he talked about, he had a tier list of what it was like taking different people's finishers from like didn't hurt at all to I hate my job taking this move. And he said that the powerbomb is just one of the worst moves to take. How it just hurts. It just hurts so much, and no matter how safe the wrestler is that does the move, it still is not a move that you want to take. Just the amount of force coming down on your spine is just not ideal. And I only say that because no matter how safe Gunther is, because he took the last rides from The Undertaker, and I would assume The Undertaker is one of the safest wrestlers that has ever stepped into the ring. If it hurts coming from him, it's still going to hurt coming from Gunther.
But I see what you're saying. But just to me, the way he does it, it's like he almost completely brings them to the ground. And that sure as hell wasn't the case with that old school jackknife power bomb. That is true. And even the last ride. But yeah, I see what you're saying. With The Undertaker, when he did that, he did it like brought him up and then like kind of slowly, almost like Razor's Edge, like, kind of brought him down. But
the alternative is you let Big E win and he doesn't have to.
No. And but at some point they're going to have to tease it or have him kick out of something because they always do. Yeah. But I definitely think that should be one they tease and have a reversal. And, if they're going to have him kick out of something, have him kick out of the big splash, which I think they just had somebody doing a match recently. I think they had him kick out of that. But yeah, I think, and again, I know we'll all get a good laugh at how wrong I was, but I definitely think I think just because of that, there may be a chance because of who the factions, the wrestling tomorrow. But yeah.
We'll see what tomorrow holds. Like I said before, Triple H has done a great job of setting up programs and furthering storylines and actually having a plan, which was something that it didn't seem like old management had all the time. It just seemed like it'd show up and whatever was in the top of their heads, they would do. But you can tell that Triple H has a long-term plan for everything that he's doing. And plans change. Do I believe that The Rock and Cody and Roman, do I think that this has gone according to the plan that Triple H had originally? No, I don't. I think that they had to change things on the fly.
Oh, well, that's and that personally to me is apparent by the whole Seth Rollins involvement in it. If it was him versus Punk, none of this is being talked about with the whole Rollins involvement.
Right.
In my opinion, I don't think so, but but the whole Cody thing, dude, and I want your opinion on this. Did you really think Cody was going to win last year?
The Rumble or the WrestleMania match? No.
I'll tell you why I didn't. But we have not, and me and Josh have not discussed this previously. Why did you not think he was going?
At that time, first of all, I think that was peak Bloodline last WrestleMania season. I am of the mindset that the storyline is losing a little bit of steam right now, even with The Rock. I think that it's losing steam. And I think that's why The Rock is here, is because it's losing steam, but they have to get it over the finish line. And so I think that they're limping over the finish line with this storyline. I thought that it was too soon. If Triple H did have this long-term plan of having Cody win, I think that doing it over the course of a year was better than a 2-month build-up from Royal Rumble. I thought that it was too soon for Cody at that time. How far removed was he from that pec injury?
His first.
I'm trying to remember. I'm not good with time.
His last match was the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view
against Seth.
Yes, I don't recall.
So I really don't feel like he had that many matches. Did he come back at the Rumble?
Yes, he did. He did.
I just don't think that in that 2-month span after being off for months that he could have come and then beaten Reigns, who at that time had the belt for 2 years.
I think so.
I thought it was too fast. So I didn't think that he realistically could have won. I also didn't think that Cody was going to win this Rumble. Maybe it was just me, but I didn't think that Cody was going to win the Rumble 2 years in a row. I like Cody.
I did.
And I know that you did. I just didn't, because of the list of people who have won back-to-back Royal Rumbles. I don't view Cody in that same light, and I know that I might be in the minority in that. I didn't think that he was worthy of winning back-to-back Royal Rumbles. I don't think that he's an Austin or a Michaels, and I know you do. I know that you disagree. I think that Cody's fine. I like Cody. My kids love Cody. I really respect Cody for when I went to SmackDown, and I cannot stress how impressed I was by him enough, taking the time after SmackDown to shake all the fans' hands in the front row after it went off the air. He took a picture with both of my kids, and I just said, "Hey, Cody, can I get a picture next to my kids?" And he said, "No, bring him in here. Let me put my arm around him and take that picture." And that's not even what I wasn't even going to ask him for that, but he did that with my kids.
That's awesome.
So I love
you sent me that picture. That's something I'll never forget, man.
Exactly. And I love him for that. I just don't view him as Austin. I don't view him as Michaels. I view him highly. I just don't view him that high. And just the guys that have won 2 in a row, I just don't think he's there yet. But I'm diverting from the original question. I just thought that he didn't have enough matches under his belt coming back from his injury to then come in and then believably beat Roman Reigns. I think that now with the story that they've told over the last year, I think that he's ready to do it. I just didn't think he was ready at that time.
I think those are all, I agree with all that. But another thing to me that I think just would have made it too obvious, him being successful at it last year, was the way he came back. He came and announced, I'm entering the Royal Rumble. He came in at 30. He trust me, as much as I would have loved for it to have been, it wasn't going to be Gunther, but that would have been awesome if it would have been, but we all knew it wasn't going to be. Once it came down to those two, we all knew. Well, but right. But I know this is diverting a little bit, but who cares? That to me was probably the best finishing sequence I've ever seen at a Rumble. Those two. Great. Was it about 10 minutes? Or I don't want to be too exaggerated, but they were in there for a while for just those two, Cody and Gunther.
Gunther broke the record.
Yes.
And the only way to do that is to have a long ending sequence.
Yeah, well, I mean, he came in first, I think, didn't he? First or second?
But there's a lot of guys who've come in first and have lasted till the end.
Yeah,
for you to beat
I know,
those
but
guys,
sometimes like there'll be 4 guys in there for a good amount of time. But
true, but no, they if I remember correctly, they had like a match, like a whole match.
Okay, so I'm not just the length of it. Okay, because I was
no.
And to me, that was, even though we knew who was going to win, it was great. Great ending sequence, in my opinion. And then they kept putting the emphasis on the story and this and that. But I agree with you. That along with the fact that there wasn't that much of a build. And then you could tell, man, that at the time, which even reinforces that it was the right decision to have him lose, they're more for him now than they were at that point last year, because I think a lot of people felt the same way about it. It was too obvious. It wasn't the John Cena back from the torn pec surprise entry at 30, which they very well could have done, and I think they would have had a completely different reaction. Mm-hmm. But I think the way they did it had everybody expecting that he was going to win, or a lot of people expecting he was going to win. That pissed him off even more. And then now they've done this build, him having to go through Brock, him having to go through all these different challenges and overcoming it, and then winning the Rumble again, and then now the stuff with Rock, whether that was planned, unplanned, and I get what I understand. I know what your feelings are about him when comparing him to like a Shawn Michaels or a Stone Cold. With that said, I don't think you can deny at this point, not only crowd reactions, I'm talking merchandise sale, everything. The guy is just as popular to it. Well, yeah, no, I'm gonna stick to that. I think he is almost as popular as.
What are you gonna say? Who? Which one of those two? Which one?
I stop. I stop.
You're about to say something crazy.
Okay.
Put yourself in 13-year-old Wade's shoes and then finish that sentence.
Okay. Maybe not as popular as Stone Cold.
All right. Well, that was good going back down memory lane and talking about the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view. It's going to be the first of many podcasts that we're going to have. So I appreciate everybody for watching episode 1 of the Golden Squeeze podcast. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. You can also check us out at Instagram at The Golden Squeeze, on TikTok at The Golden Squeeze, and on X at TGS Podcast. Until next time.